The Airgun Advisor is brought to you in part by Airguns in Arizona, High Pressure Pneumatics, Hot Sun USA, Rapid Airworks, and Athlon Optics. You'll find links to these and more in the comments down below.
Well, Airgunners, I'd like to welcome you back to the channel. My name is Chad Kettner, and I am your Airgun Advisor. Now, if you're here watching about a compressor, you're probably either A, interested in getting yourself a PCP airgun and trying to figure out this whole game, or you already went ahead and got yourself one and you don't want to use a hand pump because you know that's going to make you sweaty, nasty, and it ain't going to be much fun. Let me tell you from personal experience. So today what I have in front of us right now is the Raw HM1000X. Now this is a perfect example of an airgun that you might get as a first airgun. This is a 30 caliber airgun and definitely not something you're going to want to pump up by hand. As a matter of fact, it has a 500cc cylinder up here, which is going to make it really, really unpleasant to pump up. So what are you going to do? Well, keeping in mind there are lots of options. You got the less expensive, cheap PCP compressors, which you pick up on Amazon, VEVOR, all that stuff, all the way up to something like your Daystate or Alkin compressor that I've also reviewed both of those on this channel at an earlier date. So you can go check those out as well. Or of course you can get a tank. So of those options though, if you're looking for the most cost effective, in my mind, it's one of the small compressors. But keep in mind, a lot of people have problems with them because they try to do too much. So if you're not trying to do too much with it, and you do what it's meant for, it should be okay. So one of those small compressors I have was sent to me by VEVOR. This is a VEVOR compressor. Again, some people love them, some people hate them. I've had decent luck with them. This is my second one that I've had. Both are still working. This one, again, can go up to 4,500 PSI, and it has a pressure gauge up here that you can set the maximum pressure to. This, for example, this one can go up to 250 bar, so you're not going to pump it all the way up to 4,500 PSI, which is a good thing because the higher pressure you go with these compressors, the more wear and tear they go. So it's nice to have a 250 bar, so we can go ahead and set that while we're thinking about it to 250. Let's see, there we go, 200 and 250, so we can set that where we need it. This can run off of both your 12-volt car battery, so not a cigarette lighter, but your battery itself, as well as your normal wiring in your house, just a regular outlet. This is the filter system that comes with it. Just a small cotton filter in there, nothing too exciting. It does gather up moisture. Not enough moisture for me in my air guns. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But, you know, let's go ahead and just take a second and see what's in the box. What do you say? Let's do it. So here it is, the VEVOR box. This is what that compressor is going to come into. And you're going to want to cut carefully. You don't want to stab that knife all the way in there when you cut that tape, because there are hoses and different pieces and O-rings and so forth that are in the accessory bags. Definitely just kind of scoot that right on through the tape, but not very deep, and you'll see exactly why right here. We've got the wires for the 12-volt hookup, we've got the hoses, everything right there in that little bag. Also some extra O-rings and all the tools you're going to need to rebuild those kits. Super simple, nice packaging. Here's that instruction manual. You'll notice I'm going to flip through this just a little bit, but I was really impressed with how it's going to give you that step-by-step guide that you're seeing right there in regards to how to operate as well as how to fix any leaks that you may develop over time. And of course, the compressor. Again, I was pretty impressed with the packaging. Very similar to packaging of other compressors of this size that I've seen. You got that nice foam wraparound, you got the foam on top, and then of course the foam on the bottom. So now with this kind of packaging, no real fear of damage from shipping is going to occur. Go ahead and slide that out. And you know, if you wanted to, you can keep this around for later. If you're going to store it, maybe over the winter time, if you're not going to be shooting as much, someplace to keep it nice and safe. But there it is, nice bright orange color. You'll notice that there's a gauge on top, that's your pressure gauge, and then there's going to be a little LCD screen on the top there, that's going to be your temperature gauge. And then on the side, you got your pressure relief, you got your hose hookup as well as a burst disc, and then on the back you got your power outlets for both 12 volt and 120 volt, which is your normal household electricity. Let's go ahead and take a look in the bag a little further. Here I am pulling out the 12 volt. This would be to hook up to your car batteries. Again, nice option. We're not going to use that one today, but nice option if you're going to be out in the field using it. We'll go ahead and use this 120 volt cord, which is, if you're old enough, you'll notice it's just like an old computer cord that you use to plug in. And you'll see those filters in there. Those are for that gold filter piece. Cotton filters are available online through Amazon, and they do wear out eventually. That's a deadhead, so you can go ahead and test your compressor, see how long it takes to get to 4,500 psi to monitor the wear and tear on those O-rings, and if you need to do any maintenance. Now you look inside there, there's that white cotton filter. You'll notice at the end of this video, after we do our first fill, there will be some gunk and so forth in there, as well as a lot of moisture. And that's why it's imperative that we use those filters and even another external filter while filling our air guns from these small portable compressors, because the larger ones come with them already built in, but the smaller ones, not so much. So it's good to see that you have some extra parts, extra O-rings, and of course you have the user manual, which I have it right here, which is going to help you with that step-by-step process. A lot of pictures, lots to walk you through, which is kind of nice to see. When these first came out, you weren't seeing that kind of information available. So I'm glad to see that is changing here. Let's go ahead and take this. This air gun is sitting right now at 150 bar, which is your typical regulator which is your typical setting for regulators and where they go off. So it kind of gives you a pretty good idea of what it'd be like to fill these air guns, so you can shoot it down and fill it back up and see what kind of times you're going to get. I'm going to go ahead and set this up. Now, I did mention that it has the filter here. I like to use one more external filter, and that is what I have right here. Now, I'll leave a link for this. This is not made by VEVOR, so I'm going to go ahead and leave a link for this down below. If you're interested, it can be picked up at Amazon. But it is a nice option to have if you want to keep everything dry. This filter goes ahead and gets attached to this. All right. And then you'll notice on this far side here, it has a bleed screw, all right? So you want to leave that open until you get the compressor running. So we're going to go ahead, I'm going to move this air gun over here, put it just a little bit in front. Go ahead and attach this to the quick disconnect there so we can watch it. As we get this started here, you're going to hear the fan turn on. This is a fan-cooled system. You get water-cooled systems. They're a little more expensive. Helps keep the temperature down, though. And the temperature is one of the things that will kill these compressors. So if you overheat it, you start messing up the seals inside, and you're going to start developing leaks. Speaking of leaks, like I said, it comes with seals, but also you may want to go ahead and get that extended warranty from Amazon, as you know, these compressors do tend to have some issues occasionally, but overall it's a pretty good, solid unit from my experience. Matter of fact, you guys back home, put it down below. What are your thoughts on this compressor? Have you had good experiences, bad experiences? And if you had bad experiences, make sure you tell us what you are doing with that, because as I said before, if this is being used to pump up something larger than a 500cc tank, or it's being used as a commercial basis, or you're like using it all the time, it's probably going to break eventually. But overall, for a new air gunner, this is a solid unit in my personal experience. So let's go ahead. I'm going to close up. Actually, before I close it up, I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. You'll hear the fan kick on. I've got the pressure gauge already set. Temperature gauge is something we want to monitor. And then we'll turn on the compressor here and shut all the valves and make sure or see how long it takes to go from 150 bar all the way up to 250 bar for this Rapid Airworks HM1000X in 30 caliber. So let's go ahead and plug this in. Right here in the back, now this is running off 120 volt normal household electricity. All right, you hear the fan kick on. Go ahead and close the first bleed valve. And then this one. And then finally this one. They're all closed now. We'll go ahead and turn it on and see how long it takes. All right, so I went ahead and let this run for a little while, letting the system cool off. As it's cooling though, you can go ahead and start releasing the bleed valve. So that releases the pressure in the entire system. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn this off so we don't have to listen to the fan anymore. I went ahead and unplugged it, so the fan is off. Now everything here is depressurized. That's important. You don't want to try to unhook anything while there's still pressure in the system. Now if you do not have an external filter, there's just one bleed screw, and that is the one right here. So keep that in mind. But we'll go ahead and take this off, just like that. Now the raw air gun is absolutely ready to go, sitting at 250 bar. I can go ahead and unhook this. I want to show you, if you look inside here, you can see it's important to have these filters on here because that's pretty wet. And you can see down inside of there, hopefully from the camera above, it's pretty wet down in there. I'll leave this open, as a matter of fact, to go ahead and let it dry. You may even want to run the compressor for a second to blow out any residual air that's inside from the bleed screw there. And of course, make sure you read your instructions to get everything right. Guys, I'm interested in your thoughts. Is this trash or is it treasure for you beginner air gunners? I think if you're a beginner air gunner, this is not a bad way to go personally. I would definitely get yourself an external filter though, and I'll leave some links down in the information down below for you to use. And of course, there'll be Amazon affiliate links, so whatever you purchase after that, well, that goes to help support the channel. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review. Keep an eye out for the HM1000X30. We're going to be doing a nice little review video on that here coming up. And until next time, make sure that trigger pull stays smooth, the pellets fly straight, and we'll see you right here in another edition of the Airgun Advisor.